Okay, well, here we are. It is a brand new year, and let's start a brand new year with a brand new review for a brand new unit. So, right here, we are going to be talking about Astoria first, and we will be also doing a review in the very near future for Kasumi. But I think this is the character that a lot of people are really interested in. The Warrior of Crystals are considered to be basically the strongest characters in the entire game, and for good reason. If you look at the history that we've had with different characters, Jum, Setia, Renan, and Barris have all been very powerful characters, and characters that have demanded answers in the past. So, it should be no surprise that Astoria is much in the exact same. As a matter of fact, Astoria is looking to be probably the best character in the game, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. I do want to say really quickly before we get into this review that you should also anticipate Kasumi, because Kasumi is really showing that she is quite a powerful unit. But I digress. Let's get back and let's talk about Astoria. Now, unfortunately for the stream last night, I actually used the friend unit, but that's not too much of a problem because we are going to, well, we have him. We have the unit. He's already built to 89. This will give us a comparable idea, and we're going to be testing him today against some of the units that I think are the primary units that he will struggle against. And just as you can see here, I have kept this relatively restrained in terms of the testing for a couple of reasons. First of all, he's only level 89. This party is not going to benefit him at all. So I've tried to keep vision cards out of the equation. I do realize that vision cards will always be a factor in how good or bad a unit is in terms of synergy. So I get it. You don't have to say it. We'll do more testing and more demonstrations of him in the future once I have him more properly leveled. But for now, this is effectively just an idea of how strong he is. All right. So with all that out of the way, let's get into what makes this unit really good. So as you can see, based on his level 89 currently, he actually has really good stats. And I can tell you right now, from the friend unit we saw yesterday, you can get an idea of how good his stats will be. Roughly his HP ends up around about somewhere between 7 and 8,000 depending on equipment. Looking at hit attack, we can know he can get around 1,500 attack. I saw him upwards of 1,600 attack. And the friend unit build also, curiously enough, did not have Chaos Odin on it. It actually just had regular Odin. I don't know if that's particular for any reason yet, but it's interesting to say the least. Also, while he was not built for incredibly well for defense, he was actually built much higher for spirit in the friend unit, getting roughly about 30 spirit, but essentially having no defense. So I am not so sure if I like that build. As for his speed caps out, looks like around about 100 with a maxed out 3-star Odin, which is pretty dang good speed. In terms of what we've seen recently, not the fastest character out there, but considering how good this character is in other aspects, I think it's just like fine that he is not there. All right, so as you can see, just to show the build here, ours is up to 7 out of 10, so not maxed yet, but we'll get there over the next few days. And in terms of initial resistance, as you can see, he's a pretty resisty unit. If you throw him into a water-based party with maxed out water vision cards, you can probably stack resistance quite a bit easier. The most obvious thing here is that we have a major weakness to strike and thunder, so I know Queen is definitely going to be the one that a lot of people are going to be thinking about to counter this unit. And Queen is definitely a good unit, but as we'll see, this unit's going to be a little bit tough to falter. In terms of resistance though, strong against basically all the major damage types, including slash, and this is a pretty restrained build at the moment for being against other, like, just like, it's not a resistance build that we're running right now. This is more of a DPS build, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, he is just a powerful unit for sure. I think there are multiple ways that you can build this unit. So let's get into what also is really strong about him. So let's hop over here for a minute and take a look at the TMR, because the TMR is always important. And this TMR, I have to say, I'm not convinced whether this is a mandatory to get TMR. It does have some nice stats on it. It is an accessory. It does have accuracy up on it, which is kind of important right now. As for its skill, you can see we have bravery up, attack up, as well as speed up, and it is an AoE. However, it is a weird AoE. It is a cross AoE. Not sure how I feel about this. It will be useful in some situations. It does have double use, and it can be used for brave farming. But how to say this? We don't have the exact numbers on the attack percentage and the speed percentage. I would assume that the speed is about 24%. So that's usually what we're getting. As for the attack, I don't know. Attack could be a little bit higher. Might be 40%, but regardless, this TMR's pattern for its AoE, I think makes it a little bit awkward. One of the things I will say about Astoria's AI is that it seems to be fairly generous at trying to buff allies, so this TMR is not completely worthless, especially on his unit. It's just that the cross as opposed to the plus don't like it as much. So I'm going to give this TMR a probably really good, but I kind of want to see the numbers before I give any real definitive answer. So let's jump into his kit, and we have 3 jobs here today. We have Sniper, we have his primary job, and we have Summer Kilf's main job. Battle Axe, I think, is what it roughly translates to on the JP side. So let's start with Sniper, and I'm going to give the cliff notes here because we got a lot of other stuff to do. Alright, so he has aiming, which gives 3-turn range up, and defense penetration rate up. A really strong ability because, I mean, it's just going to get him around defense and give him some extra range. He has slow shoot, arm shoot, which basically give the don't act ability, paralyze trap, which can cause the paralyze effect, the move down for 3 turns arrow attack, target share, which gives Phantom Beast Killer, as well as attack up on allies centered around him, and his counter is counter smoke. Honestly, Sniper is a great addition here. It gives extra range on his abilities. Not that he really has that kind of problem, as we'll show in his main kit, but Sniper abilities do give him access to some really nasty status effects that he can hit the enemy with first. Taking a look, quickness down, I mean, he has the quickness down, he can give himself defense penetration. The Phantom Beast Killer is really good against any fights with Espers going forward in the future, and paralysis as well as don't act are powerful status effects. Honestly, Sniper is really good. I don't think I want to run it with AI only because his AI seems pretty good about running his buffs first, and if he does have too much range on his attacks, I think he'll start missing out on some of his more powerful support abilities, and we don't want that. So Sniper, really good addition for obvious reasons, but I don't think it is what I really want to run on this unit. Next up is the Battle Axe abilities, and Battle Axe is a brand new job, and that's pretty exciting because brand new jobs have newer skills that are better, that are just newer. They have better effects a lot of the time than older jobs. So support from this one, increased hit rate and defense penetration. Given the evasion problem currently, increased hit rate seems really nice. And a defense penetration bonus of 40 is also really strong. So he is not short of defense penetration. All right, Taking a look at what he has, first of all, he has the large range ability. I think it is it this one? Yes. As you can see, massive range on it, 14 AP, so really low costed. But the really amazing thing here is that it has also the slow status effect, and slow is a nasty status effect. He also has Amulet Fang, which gives attack and spirit up on allies centered around himself, 40% attack boost and 15 spirit boost. He has the ability that can reduce attack and magic power on an enemy of 40% each. He has increased accuracy centered around himself, for himself and allies, and increased resistance against slashing attacks. Given that he is already such high slash resistance, running that ability will also just make him resistant against probably another very obvious thing that I think a lot of people were considering, Cloud. He also has Wolf's Double Claw, which gives him 2 consecutive hits on a target. Now that one does have a more limited range. It's this one right here, but it is pretty cheap and it does have 4 uses. Honestly, Battle Axe seems like kind of the thing that I would want to run as a sub job on Astoria, because it gives him some extra range, it gives him some really nice buffs, it gives him another access to the slow status effect, which will be crippling against other enemies. Really, I think Battle Axe just brings a lot to the party. But now we get into the really fun stuff. Let's talk about his main kit, which is insanely powerful. First of all, support skills, attack up, and AP acquisition up is just very, very powerful for reasons which we will get into very shortly. Next up is HP up and as well slash attack resistance. Now this really is one of the things that's giving him extra slash attack resistance and making him more of a brawler. I could see this one being switched out with the Battle Axe one for defense penetration though, as 40 defense penetration is really good, but this is essentially the support skill to make him more of a brawler. Now, his counter, this is the thing I think you're always going to be wanting to run, so let's talk about it. Probability of first strike counterattack, recovering AP. Now, haven't tested exactly how much. This has really good range on it for a counter ability. If it generates even like 10 or 20 AP, I think this is still the one to run, and it hits an enemy first. Given how powerful this character is, there's a good chance that you could potentially kill the enemy before the enemy hits you. So if you're doing that and generating AP, that is just a massive win. All right, so sub job. Is the sub job worth running? Well, first of all, we have this ability right here. As you can see, it is an AoE hit, 3 directly in any direction around him. Targets damage in range, but also gives the slow status effect. This is his second access to the slow status effect. Might just be good enough to run. However, his secondary job, or his secondary ability, which is over here on his sub part, I think is less exciting. Big range on this essentially is an AP reduction, but it's not getting an AP drain on it, so I really am not overly enthused about this. He's already just plenty strong at generating AP, so I don't think I'd run this ability. Early on, it's just level 1, and it seems to be draining about 10, 15 AP, I think, from my testing at 2 a.m. yesterday, which is good, but is it good enough to run? I think the Battle Axe or Sniper is probably just better than either of these abilities. Thankfully, though, we get into the main part of his kit, and this is really just good. So first of all, this ability is his main attack, only 14 AP, deals damage, and also removes re-raise. It is single target re-raise removal, which I think is enough because not generally does every unit have re-raise on them, so this is fine. Also pretty flexible, pretty cheap, and just good. And this ability is one of his all-star abilities. So first of all, it is survive one attack when receiving lethal damage, so Guts effect, but it also gives defense penetration rate up as well as AP consumption down if the Guts status effect is in place. So this is a absolutely insane ability because it does give the Guts status effect. It does reduce his AP consumption and it gives him defense penetration. As he gets into his EX, he also gets extra uses on this ability, so he has 2 access to survive 2 fatal hits, give himself AP down, and give a defense penetration rate increase. An incredibly strong ability for so many different reasons, but yeah, one of my favorites in his kit for sure. Alright, so we're going to do the tour around. This ability is very essential for how I have rated this character. So first we have, it is a triple hit. It has a lot of flexibility on where you attack. It costs 31 AP, which is a little high, but again, with the AP consumption down, totally fine. But it is a large damage sure hit ability, so it basically gets around evasion. You don't have to worry about evasion at all, and yeah, just very, 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 very powerful. Next up, one of the cooler abilities that I don't think we were aware ahead of time, but is quickly becoming one of my favorites. Slashing attack resistance of allies centered around self, increase HP. Upper limit is increased with restoring the HP while increasing the maximum HP. And last but not least, grants the effect of absorbing part of the damage for himself for 3 turns. This is his regen effect, and this is very powerful. From what I can tell, his AI has the highest priority of running this ability first. At 36 TP, totally fine, generates AP, but the fact that it gives him a restoration effect when he already has a Guts effect is very powerful. It essentially makes all of his attacks restorative capabilities, only for 3 turns. But it's scary to give him that. He's capable of dealing damage, and he will be capable of restoring health. Now, his last ability that we have here, kind of a weird one. This also gets improved into his EX, damage after defense down on the target for 3 turns within range. Don't know how much defense down, but it is a strong ability. Alright, and that one also gets improved into his EX for the number of uses that he can use it, up by 1. And last ability, his job level 25, 2 consecutive damage hits large to the target after destroying barrier that reduces physical damage. Barrier reduction is more and more important, not only for PvP, but also for it's also very important right now for bosses on maps. A lot of bosses are running barriers nowadays to make them tankier. This unit deals massive damage with a chain effect and destroys barriers. So there really isn't much else to say. Astoria is just one of the strongest characters kit-wise. His kit is basically just insane from top to bottom. He's capable of dealing so much damage. He is just such a powerful character, and honestly, there is a lot of potential still. Currently, I am running this on him right now. However, you could run Laswell's katana, you could run his own katana, which has slash resistance penetration. You could run a TMR katana that has been boosted to high hell. So there's a lot of potential for this character. Really, at this point, we don't know his full potential, but boy oh boy is he just looking powerful. So let's get into it. Let's demonstrate him off. And also, of course, we'll have to talk about his limit burst, but I brought a bunch of characters here that I think are going to be really important for talking about, like, just who could potentially go up against him, how effective they would be, you know, just all kinds of stuff. So we're going to look here at just buffing some of our characters, running the buffs that we would expect to be running against him and just give a general idea. We want to see how much Cloud can do against him. You know, there's a lot of stuff here, so let's see. Alright, so now taking a look at Astoria, let's just see what he can do against some of our friendly characters. So as you can see, he's getting shut down really hard right now by Charlotte. He is dealing a fair amount of damage against Locke though. Taking a look at this one, you can see how much damage he is dealing against each of the characters without any buffs or vision cards increasing his amount of damage. That's not the one we want to run. We want to run this. So we will just give it a second here. Just trying to figure out if there's any abilities I missed. We can see how much AP damage we are dealing to these characters. Let's run a buff right now to effectively see what we can get. You can get a basic idea of how much HP he is restoring off of his HP up ability. It's not the highest amount, but it will stack as he gets better. Taking a look at the other characters, you can see that it is percentage based to their stats. All right, so let's run this. Get the gut status effect up. These guys don't know that we're not here to fight them. And I think we're just going to pass right here up until Cloud. We're going to see what Cloud's Limit Burst can do against him. So Cloud's Limit Burst could kill him at level 89 versus a full level 120. And keep in mind too, I guess I should mention just while we're here, that Astoria also, a lot of his skills have not been fully maxed yet. But we're getting an idea for how much damage we are capable of dealing against him. And I think the thing to note here is that if we were looking at killing Astoria right now, while we are effectively doing it at lower levels, once he gets up into level 120 and he's sitting around 7,000 to 8,000 HP, Cloud will not be able to one-shot him. Currently, the closest we are kind of getting to one-shot territory would be, I believe it wasn't his chaining ability. That doesn't do enough even currently. Yeah, I don't think Cloud is actually capable of killing him on our current build if he was at level 120. So let's just pass a lot here, and now we'll get an idea for what Astoria is capable of. So against Locke, you can see his sure hit ability will end up doing a lot. As you can see, we're about 13% accuracy without it, so he does have evasion buffs currently on right now. And a lot of that makes this really dangerous. But as you can see, we're also getting a really nice AP reduction cost. It's gone down from 31 to about 24. So we're getting that AP reduction on our abilities. Taking a look, let's see what we can do against each of these characters. Maxed out Limit Burst here. Has the same low accuracy, but able to kill Locke relatively easily, dealing much more reasonable damage versus her. But we also get the armature effect on this character after we hit her. Accuracy is a little bit low. Cloud also dealing a fair amount of damage, considering that we're 89 against a bunch of 120s. Alright, so before we continue on, let's just make sure we have the animations, as I'd love to show off the Limit Burst here. But let's see what he could do roughly about on enemies about his level. So you can see the damage on this Limit Burst. This is a level 20 max Limit Burst, by the way. He's really capable of dishing out damage and dealing more damage over the time period that the effect is active. 3 turns is the effect, and also damage after slashing attack resistance is down, so it does remove some slashing resistance. So let's let some characters do some stuff real quick. And just clear some of the riffraff. If there's one ability I do want to test out, though, Charlotte also has this resistance to water damage, which I consider to be potentially effective enough to be run, because it's essentially giving you more resistance against his attacks. But as you can see, he's still doing a pretty good amount of damage, even with that in there. So let's run this effect, because I also want to show this off. It also gives us a little bit more AP back. And also, while we're just kind of waiting to get through our turns, I will... Ow. Throw that up on the screen so people can get a general idea of what I think about this character. Let's head up here. See if we can't get some AoEs on this. We could do about 5,000 there. We could... Ooh. Block should be fine, right? Probably. Yeah, see? He's fine. And as you can see there, from that multiple hit, we restored about 2,000 HP worth of health off of that ability. Really quite nice. Skip ahead a bit, and at this point I do believe our reduction is still going. That's still really nice. And as you can see, he does have plenty of range on his attacks too, even on his base attacks they are, and this is his re-raise removal. So there we go, restored 900 HP, and we're finished and done that mission. So yeah, Astoria is, for all intents and purposes, like a really strong character. I think that overall, I am incredibly impressed in what he is capable of doing, and this is without vision cards. This is without a lot of the extra stuff you can pump onto this character. You know, taking a look at some of the available vision cards for water, we have like water, water support in terms of attack. We have, for instance, this vision card, which would help with his AP acquisition and probably remove his necessity of bells. But just to talk about how good this character is from top to bottom, we're looking at guts and AP down combined in a single ability, resistance down and slow, top tier sub jobs from both sniper and battle axe, healing in the form of his HP buff that also restores HP, although I think that the AI might have a little bit of difficulty using that effectively, as it seems to prioritize that over the guts status effect first. Also access to resistance increases, resistance down for his main damage type, sniper for built-in for range, can be built against either mage or physical, because he has a naturally high spirit stat, but you could equip armor on him to give him a defense boost. He's a team player because he actually does care about buffing allies. That seems to be a priority for him. And there's probably more that I'm forgetting, but he is just an insane character. His stats, his abilities, what he's capable of, what I don't even know he's capable of yet. And really, it's just going to be a matter of time before we see how truly effective it is. As you can see, I got his bravery up to 97 already, but his full access to his capabilities, as his proficiency is only level B, should also paint a picture that there is more that can be gotten out of this character. So yeah, I look forward to testing this character out. I think the only other thing that's really worth mentioning, and we'll do one more map to close out this video, we'll throw in queen. Now, my queen is definitely not considered to be that impressive of a build, as she is still into level 89 and not perfected yet. But let's just build up a queen here to get kind of an idea of how much potential thunder damage we could get out of this character. And we'll throw on a magic card, and we'll try and do a little physical and magical at the same time. Wait for the quest to load in. All right, so we are not interested in that. We are not interested in that. Let's start buffing this character so we can get him to do some stuff. Now, taking a look right off the get-go, we can see how much Queen is actually doing against him with a potential 1500 counter, which is a little scary, but not too scary. So let's take a look here. We're looking at about half of his HP, and I would say that this is a fairly fair idea of how much damage we are capable of doing against him. So without buffs, gives you a general idea of it. And we'll test his we'll see how good he can deal damage against Queen. So let's see. Yeah, it would be, I think, actually a pretty scrappy little fight between the two of them, which is kind of a fun idea to test out. All right, let's get him up here. And just, oh, we're just slightly out of range. All right, well, we'll do this. Get that up there. But you can get an idea for how much damage we're dealing. It'll take a while before I can get them up to level 120, but that preemptive attack is just pretty nasty for him to deal with. Oh, and my stomach is growling. All right. So let's see what Astoria's AI actually prioritizes. So healing for roughly about 3000 HP there off of an AoE hit. You can see that he did not prioritize his AoE. He actually ended up choosing to go for an AoE over his limit burst. Kind of tells me that he's at least a little bit interested in prioritizing. It's interesting. Maybe his AI doesn't prioritize limit bursts. Ah, yes. And I guess one other note to say before we end this video, I don't think Astoria is going to be any kind of a farmer. He just doesn't quite have the most effective AoEs in his kit. Yeah, but I feel like I've covered this to death. Astoria is an absolutely amazing character from top to bottom. Any weaknesses that he has is probably not enough to counterbalance how just powerful he is. I think he has an absolutely insane kit. I think as I get him more and more built, I'll have a much better idea for just how strong he will be. But I think he's quite capable of surviving Cloud, especially when they are more evenly matched. And talking about even like tanks against him, I think that he is brawly enough and survivable enough to really dish out damage over a long period of time. and the fact that he does have such strong buffs also is pretty encouraging. So yeah, that's all for this video. This video has gone on way too long, but this character was also totally worth talking about. So Astoria, what a way to start off the new year, and Kasumi, man. We'll get into Kasumi in the next video, because she is pretty insane as well. So that's all for this one. See you next time.